Welcome to
where we talk about music, and specifically an album that's neither new nor particularly relevant. It's just something we like, and we're going to tell you why. I do think that a really specific metric of the success of this soundtrack is that it feels like a mix CD that you made for your friends in 2004.
And
like
for those of you that don't know, this is basically the story of the film.
I remember talking about this at the time of the movie, that like it was just some mixtape he'd made that he made the Garden State soundtrack. That's not quite true. I do know that he mailed mixtapes of the soundtrack out to the people he wanted to either use the music of or be in the movie. Do we want to talk now about whether the movie, like how deeply the movie depends on the soundtrack to function as a movie?
Yeah, we can talk a bit about that. The movie needs it.
I think that this movie is a great example of relying on its audience listening to the soundtrack apart from the movie. Because actually, one thing that I thought was interesting in the many rewatchings of Garden State that we did, some of those songs are featured for such short amounts of time.
That's true. That's a good point.
I have so many memories built up listening to the Garden State soundtrack that coincide with that time in my life that it's almost like a joint experience.
There's a difference between scoring and soundtracks.
Yep.
I miss movies with soundtracks. That was such a...
Yeah, me too.
That was such a late 90s, early aughts thing. Is so many soundtracks were like...
great
made
music.
the movies better. Rights issues? I'm not going to get on a soapbox about this, but no one can secure rights long enough term to, and no one wants to pay for real music, so you don't get these anymore where artists were like, put my song on your soundtrack. And some movies, especially movies with young characters where there isn't like the same level of weight to the plot, really. Yeah. You've just got people kind of existing. That's the perfect movie for soundtracks vibes.
Yes.
And I really miss that you don't see that anymore. The other side of it, though, is some of these movies, like, they're like a music video. They ride on that soundtrack. Yep. And this movie has so many moments that if you pull the soundtrack out of it and put scoring in or something that's like a lesser song. Yeah. Woof.
I think that most of the artists who appeared on the soundtrack actually cut Zach Braff a deal, because I do know that part of the Garden State story is Zach Braff had to do it. He had like one investor who wanted to get into movies, and he had a really small budget. So I know that part of sending the mixtape out to people was to be like, read the script, listen to the music, like find it in your heart to let us use it.
Thanks for joining